As the data center controversy grows, lawmakers punt on new rules. Welcome to Columbus on the Record. I'm Mike Thompson. With each passing week, the controversial data center construction industry in Ohio, the controversy intensifies. Here are this week's headlines. A tax break negotiated by then-Governor John Kasich means companies like Google, Meta, and Amazon don't have to pay sales taxes for up to 40 years. Those deals alone will cost nearly $2 billion. This week, state lawmakers tried to pass a bill to eliminate or reduce that tax break and increase regulation on data centers, but they could not come to an agreement before they had a recess. And there's a report this week that Ohio is in line for a mega data center. The tech news outlet called The Information reports the data center would cost $500 million to build. It would be located on leased federal land in southern Ohio. Andrew Tobias, first to this tax break. It caught lawmakers by surprise. How did this go unnoticed or at least unappreciated for all these years?
Well, so the DeWine administration is trying to make the case that all of these tax credits are approved in public meetings. They're posted about. There is just a lot of data on the Ohio Department of Development's website, so it's maybe buried in there. And I also went to the meeting. It's not like these are attended by lots of people or anything like that. But there's a number that when they approved the tax credit, they estimated to be a certain size. Time passed, the number got way bigger based on the amount of construction that took place. Nobody ever really circled back to see what it was. There's also a Legislative Service Commission estimate last summer when the budget was being written that tagged these around $150 million, which it actually turned out to be closer to $2 billion. So it's just, it's striking that the legislature didn't realize how big this was. I know that my colleagues and I didn't realize either. And I guess, it's a complicated answer why, but yeah, I guess that's part of it.
Well, one reason is that when this was agreed to back, 10, 12 years ago, AI really wasn't in the conversation. Data centers have just exploded. I don't think anyone anticipated what we're seeing now.
Yeah, when these were approved I remember Google building in Columbus, everybody thought it was really cool. I don't think they imagined how big these things would actually get when, they're it almost boggles the mind how big these modern data centers are.
We're at $2.6 billion, seems like a lot of money, but companies say they're building, or they've committed to spend $40 billion in Ohio. So 2.6 to get 40, is that a bad deal?
I feel like they're just talking, though. I mean, even the initial agreement itself, we just saw how out of whack the actual reality was from the actual proposal. So, I mean, words are great, actions are better. I think that this whole break stuff and then learn the hard way why it was a bad idea is a bad way to govern. And I think that this is just a piece of that.
Mike, is that why, because of the surprise amount for this tax break, why didn't lawmakers do something on data centers? People really want state officials to do something, control the electrical cost or water, protect the water. Why didn't they do anything?
Yeah, I think there's just difference of opinion between the House version and the Senate. The House wanted to eliminate all future tax breaks. You can't claw back the past ones. Those are contracts. You can't legislate those away. The Senate said, let's just reduce the tax breaks. The House said, no, let's get rid of them altogether. So that's the biggest sticking point right now, Mike. But this is a fascinating political experience we're going through right now because the unions love data centers. Unions support Democrats. Rural red, ruby red counties, the residents, rural farmers, MAGA voters hate data centers, and they're going after their representatives, their senators, their legislators saying, stop this. So you've got the Republicans on one hand that are pro-business, but their voters say, data centers don't vote, by the way. Yep. Their voters are saying enough, and the Democrats are caught because the unions want them. So it's a fascinating experience. At the end of the day, we have to find a win-win. Local control is the most important thing, though, in all of this. No matter what the legislature passes, local control matters the most.
Andrew, Governor DeWine says that data centers must pay their own way, but he vetoed provision that would have done away with this sales tax exemption that they have. And now he's paused that for now, but he's kind of gone back and forth on this.
Yeah, I think the industry's kind of gone back and forth a little bit too. Okay. And I do think, if nothing else, they appreciate the political backlash that's forming in America. And I think they're rethinking maybe the way that these sales tax exemptions were a decade ago don't really make sense at the scale that we're seeing them at now. So there are defenders of them, the construction workers, they go and buy stuff, all of that stuff too. But it is, like Mike said, politically difficult to do nothing.
Yeah, the Brookings did a study that says data centers increase private employment up to 5% in years after they're built. Maria, I mean, so Do we not know really, truly what the economic benefit will be from these? We know what they're going to cost, but
Well, I don't even know that we know what they're going to cost. I mean, I think if there's anything that these last few years have showed us is we don't know what they're going to cost in terms of both the environmental damage as well as the actual tax burden trade-offs. So, I mean, historically, these data centers actually don't employ that many people. So, again, I'd love to see the plan, but I don't think putting the cart before the horse makes a ton of sense.
They might not employ a lot of people, but they employ a lot of people that come in and have to do upgrades, maintenance, because with AI, which we talked about here, they're constantly, you can just see truckloads of people going in on a regular basis on the established ones because of the enhancements that have to happen on a monthly basis with maintenance, upgrades, and upkeep.
And you just said this truckloads of people, not people that live there.
They're employees of, I mean, they're Ohioans working. That's a good thing.
Are there spin-off jobs? Does a company, I don't know how these work, does a company want to be located next to a data center because, I don't know, maybe shorter cords to get the data? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know enough to, somebody might imagine that having a bunch of data centers here would be helpful for getting stuff like the Intel project. I don't, I'm not like an expert on that kind of thing, but I know that with the companies that sell data center space out, being physically proximate to their vendors makes a difference in terms of how powerful the computing is, just like literally how far in the wires it has to go. So I think it is an asset, and I think, I just don't know enough to know whether it's something that's really a selling point.
This mega data center, now this is very much on paper, but it's reported it would be leased by OpenAI, that's the ChatGPT company, 10 gigawatts. That's enough to power 10 million households. 10 gigawatts is what it would take. So enough electricity to power 10 million households. Ohio only has 5 million households. So this is twice as much data than Ohio needs for all of us to have TV and lights on in our homes for one data center. That's incredible.
It's incredible, but look, the private sector is not going to build it if there's not a need for it, right? So there must be a need for it. Again, none of us are, I'm not an expert in how this all works, but the private sector isn't going to spend $1 unless there's a market for that they can get a return on their investment. There's a need for it. They're going to lease the federal land, apparently, as you said, Mike, and that's a huge economic impact for a part of our state that doesn't get a lot of jobs. And I mean, Appalachia, Ohio doesn't really it's not a center of economic opportunity. So this is huge for the people that live down there.
But it would take, according to what I read, it would take 10 nuclear reactors to power it, Maria.
Yeah, I mean, it would take the power of twice the amount that Ohio families need. That is a ridiculous amount of power. Again, you can't just break stuff and then wait for the problems to show up later. We don't know what the consequences of suddenly tripling the power needs in the state are going to cause.
But that's one of the things lawmakers are considering, Andrew, is to make these data centers pay for the upgrades to the grid and pay for the power generation rather than consumers.
Yeah, and you kind of hear that across the country, and I kind of suspect that's coming from the data center companies basically realizing kind of what they're walking into, and I think they're sensitive to the idea that automation might also result in job losses. So I just think they're attuned to just trying to get ahead of public opinion in some way, in a way maybe they weren't a decade ago.
All right. State lawmakers have passed a bill that aims to prevent and spot Medicaid fraud. The measure increases penalties for fraud. It expands the use of electronic monitoring to track Medicaid-funded home support visits. It includes other tools as well to detect fraud. What it does not do is completely eliminate Medicaid payments to family members who provide non-medical care to loved ones. The original version of the bill included the family member ban on payments, but lawmakers scrapped it after howls of opposition from people who care for disabled and elderly relatives. Andrew Tobias, this is where I think lawmakers got out a little ahead of themselves. They were following the news and the social media chatter that these home visits are, fraudulent, but a lot of folks care for their disabled loved ones.
Yeah, so there was a story in the Daily Wire, which is a conservative website, and besides some of the fraud that it sort of questions whether it happens, whether it's happening or not, they framed these kinds of services as something like, hey, get this, people are getting paid to hang out with their family members by Medicaid. And I covered these stories. I heard from one of these families, and it's a woman who had to quit her job, who there's nobody else to take care of her severely disabled daughter. That woman and others like her testified at the Ohio House in front of lawmakers. And it's pretty clear. I mean, one of them, I've never seen this before. I'm not saying it never happened, but actually started weeping based on just the magnitude of the difficulties these families have. And so I think they realize, a top Republican that I talked to said that the more you look at these programs, the more you realize that the benefits are interconnected with each other. So I think they don't want to just pay people. The phrase they use is cooking soup for grandma or something like that. But it was clear from the testimony that there are families that really depend on this, and that just cutting them off would be really devastating for them.
But Maria, taking care of these folks keeps them out of a nursing home, which is much more expensive.
Yeah, I mean, this is a needed part of our economy. This is unpaid labor that, hundreds of thousands of Ohioans have to take on. So I think the idea that it's just inherently fraudulent is not particularly helpful. I also just want to point out this was a completely manufactured crisis. We have a full-time legislature that just wants to go on vacation next week. So they're passing stuff in the middle of the night and figuring out what's in it later. So I mean, even if there is a problem, and I think that we have, the regulatory bodies that deal with accusations of fraud, shoving through a bill and figuring out what's in it later, again, is just not the way we should be doing stuff.
This was bipartisan, though. A lot of Democrats voted for this as well.
It was, but they didn't even know the amendments that were in it until it was on the floor.
Yeah, I have a much more positive outlook on the men and women in the Ohio legislature, both the House and Senate. And as you mentioned, it was an 85-10 vote on the Medicaid fraud package. And the beauty of it is that the system worked. They introduced a piece of legislation. The people, Ohioans, came in and said, bad idea, here's why. And the legislature listened. And they may have modified and took out that home health care aspect, which is important. And they heard it. So it works. Our system works. They didn't have to hire a bunch of lobbyists. These are people. They're just everyday human beings that came in and said, I'm caring for my mother. I'm caring for my aunt. They didn't have to hire some $5,000 a month lobbyists to do it. They came in and spoke, and the legislature listened. Kudos to our legislature, both Republicans and Democrats.
They came in and spoke despite the legislature's best effort. They announced these hearings very last minute. Families had to take time off of work. They had to travel. They had to figure out a way to show up to go to these hearings and plead for their life. Avoiding a catastrophe is not an accomplishment.
Mike, people can get in their car and drive to the State House.
We still don't know. We still don't know exactly how bad the fraud situation is in Ohio. Their report in the Daily Wire that raised a lot of questions. Then we have social media folks going around with cameras, really being kind of irresponsible.
I agree.
So we don't know. And Mike DeWine, the governor, says we have all these convictions, saved all this money in fraud over the past 8 or 10 years. We really don't know how bad the fraud is, but the lawmakers are going crazy trying to solve it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the case, yeah. And maybe there is some knee-jerk reaction, maybe not. Look, I think we can all agree on one thing. There is an element of fraud in our Medicaid system in Ohio and probably all 49 other states as well. So if we can tackle it and save 5, 10, 15%, whatever the number may be, that's 5, 10, 50% that could go to people who need it, people who want to care for their grandma, aunt, or uncle, that the money isn't there right now. We can have it for all those people in all 88 counties. It's a good thing, whether we save $1, $100 million, whatever the number is, let's find ways to root out all the fraud. It's going to be a process, not one bill to fix this.
And there were other things in here. They increased the penalties on being convicted of defrauding Medicaid or another government system. They scrapped a whistleblower or where you report your neighbor or something like that for possible fraud. That might not have ended well, given what we've seen over the past several months.
Yeah, something that's significant that is in it is that people who provide non-medical home care services or non-emergency transportation services will have to basically use a GPS-enabled time card essentially to clock in and clock out when they're providing these services. That's something else that you heard, is that there have been efforts to put something like that in place for a while. The technology doesn't always work. There are places where there's not great internet connectivity. So there's just always a push and pull between making these services accessible and making sure that the people who get them actually need them.
Can Democrats use this to run against Republicans in power in Ohio? Like in Minnesota, the governor, Tim Walz, is getting all kinds of criticism because of the fraud investigations there. Republicans are attacking him. Can Democrats criticize Republicans who are in power for not doing enough on fraud here?
I just think there's still a burden of proof issue. I mean, folks claiming fraud need to present evidence of fraud. I think if they do, and then the regulatory bodies fail to actually do something about it, yes, I think the Democrats very easily can say, you didn't do the job that you signed up to do.
All right, let's get to our next topic. In the 2026 campaign, former Senator Sherrod Brown shows some surprising strength in a new poll. The Fox News poll shows the Democrat leading incumbent Republican Senator Jon Husted by 8 points among registered voters. He leads by 53% to 45%. Previous polls had this race tied or Husted with a slight lead. In the race for governor, the same poll shows it remains basically tied, with Amy Acton holding a 1-point lead over Vivek Ramaswamy. Now, President Trump could be driving these numbers. The poll shows that Donald Trump's approval rating in Ohio has dropped 10 points in recent months. It now stands at 42%. Maria Bruno, first to the Senate poll. Do you believe that Sherrod Brown has an 8-point lead over Jon Husted?
I mean, I have a lot of skepticism about polls, period, being able to accurately reflect public opinion. So I think it is definitely true that this is a neck and neck race. There's also a ton of race left to run. I mean, it's June, the election's not till November, so a lot of things can happen between now and then. But it doesn't surprise me that Trump's approval ratings continue to plummet and that Republicans who have tied their entire political future to him are also suffering for that.
Is that a red flag, Mike? Because, you know, the war in Iran is unpopular among some Donald Trump supporters. Inflation is at 4% last month. It's starting to chip away at some of the folks who are maybe not diehard Donald Trump supporters, but on the fringe. Is that a red flag for Republicans?
It's an area of concern. As Maria said, it's June. A lot's going to happen between now and then. I think this war needs to get wrapped up. I think our gas prices need to come down, and we can't go to the grocery store and walk out with 1 or 2 bags and spend $100 in groceries. It's just a fact. People vote with their pocketbook. All these things I've said before, and there's no spin that can undo that. But at the end of the day, I believe that, as Maria said, you know, you got to be careful on polling, especially in June or even late May, whenever this poll was done. And if the president can rally, it's a midterm elections. It's not supposed to go well for us. If the president can rally with the war and get prices down, I think Houston will be just fine. And because these fringe voters they're not going to go pull the lever for Amy Acton or Sherrod Brown. They're just going to stay home. So the biggest problem Republicans have is voter apathy and staying home because they're upset about the cost of gas. They got to get them off the couch and go vote.
You can sort of tell, Andrew, that neither campaign really believes this poll that much. Sherrod Brown didn't make a big deal out of it. Jon Husted didn't make a big deal. Sherrod Brown could have said, look, I'm going strong, give me money. Jon Husted could say, hey, look, I'm losing, give me money. And both candidates kind of said, they kind of ignored it.
Well, I'll push back a little bit against that in that, you know, I judge politicians by their actions, how they think the race is. And the same day that poll came out, I'm not saying it's because of the poll, but Jon Husted voted for an amendment that would block the Trump administration from reviving the quote-unquote anti-weaponization fund, where he wanted to give almost $1.8 billion to political allies. And Husted voted with some other Republicans who have tough election campaigns, some Trump critics. And so you just kind of see an example of him distancing himself from the president, and maybe he's worried about what November is going to look like.
He sees the downside of that going forward. This is registered voters, not likely voters. So there's a difference there, because at primaries, it's hard to get people to come out and vote sometimes, especially if there's not a big issue on the ballot or the president's race is not on the ballot, Maria.
Yeah, I think that's just one of the many limitations of, you know, living and dying by polling. So both candidates, or all of the candidates, I expect will run through the finish line and do the best they can in the meantime.
Democrats are more excited, according to this poll, Mike, by 6 points, 6 or 8 points, more excited than Republicans, which is not uncommon in a midterm election, I guess.
It truly is, and history repeats itself yet again. You know, it all comes down to turnout, right, Andrew? His famous tweet every election cycle. But at the end of the day, what Husted and Vivek, what they need is to see gas prices come down and grocery prices come down to get the average MAGA voter off the couch to go vote because Trump's not on the ballot. It's really that simple. But it's that simple.
If gas prices come down and inflation comes down, does that motivate Republicans to go out and vote? If they're up, I can see them they're mad. They'll go out and vote against somebody if inflation's high. But if things are going well, do Republicans come out?
I'm going to say yes, and here's why. Because I don't think they want to. Republicans and MAGA voters don't want to vote for Amy Acton. They're going to be reminded about COVID with the hundreds of millions of dollars. People have already seen Sherrod Brown for the past 32 years, and they voted him out 2 years ago for Bernie Moreno. But they need a reason to get off their couch. I'd say about 10-15% of them to go vote. And if you can lower the prices of gas and groceries, they're going to say, hey, things aren't bad. Why go backwards? But that's what it's going to take.
So what do Democrats do if those things happen, Maria? If the war ends and gas prices come back down to less than 3?
Oh, there's plenty of record left to run on. I mean, the Republicans have run the state for 3 decades. The Republicans run the federal government. We have seen over and over the weaponization of both of those entities, and there's no shortage of material for Democrats to run on.
One thing that struck me, Andrew, is the governor's race, 16% did not have an opinion on Amy Acton. I thought that was a bit high. It was like 9% for Jon Husted, who is, you know, he's been in statewide office, but still not very, very well known. Amy Acton, I think she's pretty well known, and 16% still undecided. Is that because she's not a politician?
And I always look at the poll and kind of where the people rank in their favorability. Sherrod Brown ranked the highest. Amy Acton was the second highest. Vivek Ramaswamy was the third highest. He actually was polling badly in favorability before, and I speculate, but I suspect that his ad campaigns are lifting him up. I suspect that Sherrod Brown's attack ads on Jon Husted are probably bringing him down. So, but yeah, people might that's why I kind of conclude, like, you might think that the COVID pandemic was really divisive, the role that she played, with shutting things down and that kind of stuff. But it doesn't ever really show up in polls that she's this like reviled figure or anything like that. But we'll see whether maybe the campaign ads make her into that.
Yeah, a lot more ads to come. Ohioans have had to show a photo ID to vote for 3 years. The requirement became law in 2023. There's no evidence it's been a problem. No one has seriously challenged it. But the state law is not enough for Republicans in the legislature. They want to enshrine photo voter ID in the state constitution. Lawmakers this week voted to put an amendment on November's ballot. If voters, after showing their ID, approve it, it'll be in the Constitution. Supporters say the measure will protect the ID requirement from being overturned. Critics say that's not necessary, and they say Republicans are just trying to boost turnout. Mike Konadakis, the Ohio Constitution does not prohibit murder. Why should it enshrine photo ID for voters?
Well, Mike, I'm going to be consistent. 3 years ago, I've been on your show multiple times saying we should not use the Constitution as the Ohio Revised Code. I worked very hard, unsuccessfully, to pass a constitutional amendment to raise the bar to put things in the Constitution. But at the end of the day, voter ID is an 85% issue. Every poll, Democrat, Republican, independent poll show 85%. Democrats, Republicans, independents, conservative, liberal, gay, straight support voter ID. This is a layup. It's going to easily pass. Do I think it should happen? No, but we live in a world where if someone gets elected and the legislature changes hands, governor, secretary of state, they could nibble around the edges. So this enshrines it that it will never change, that voter ID is required. I'm not a fan of putting things in the Constitution. We already have weed, we have gambling, we have abortion, things that shouldn't be in there to begin with.
Maria, do opponents of photo voter ID, do they run a campaign here?
I don't even think there are opponents of photo ID. I mean, I really do believe, but we already have photo ID as the law, and that's the thing. This is back to the manufactured emergency problem. I mean, we have a bill that was shoved through really quickly, and it was because, the Trump told them to jump, so they jumped. And I feel like the thing is that, like you said, the Constitution should not be a tool based on polling numbers to increase your voter turnout. That is not what the Ohio Constitution is for. I'm a lawyer, so I'm sensitive to this, but I mean, the idea that you are going to just add in something that feels very place and time. I mean, laws change, things change. What about digital? I mean, there are a lot of open questions about what this would look like in the future. And so, again, they're just making future problems for themselves, I think.
There's a theory that this is to boost turnout among Republicans. Andrew, do you buy that?
I think the burden is on them to disprove it. Like they say that's not the case, but I cover politics and I know how politicians think. Turnout is a concern for Republicans this November. This is something that Donald Trump is pushing. If they're worried about MAGA people staying home, this would be one way to try to get them interested in the election.
Michael, in 2004, the gay marriage amendment banning gay marriage was on the ballot. There were a lot of people who were very mad at the time, conservatives in particular, that several states had legalized gay marriage. That did boost turnout in Ohio, and it helped George W. Bush win Ohio and win re-election.
Yes.
I don't see flocks of people with pitchforks saying, I want photo ID for my voters. I don't think it drives turnout.
I don't think there hasn't been a case or an issue to light the fire, right? Now, it's the responsibility of the people that want to see this in there to get out and nudge people and say we need to get this done, but create a boogeyman, right? Look, it's no different than...
Is that what we're going to see? We're going to see ads of busloads of immigrants voting illegally saying we need to make sure they don't vote. Is that what we're going to see this summer?
I don't think so, because it's not going to be well funded. I don't see any corporations or C4s or PACs saying, hey, we'll give money for this, because it's an 85% issue. It's a layup. It's going to happen. So where's the money going to come from to do those commercials? I don't see it.
Do you see this boost turnout among anybody, Republicans especially?
I don't see it having a huge effect, to be honest with you. I also don't think it's quite a slam dunk that you do. I mean, again, it's a popular issue. It's also already the law. So back to the just fundamental question of should it be in our Constitution, a lot of people are still going to say no.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to our final off-the-record parting shots. And Mike Konadakis, you're up first.
We talked a lot about data centers today, Mike, and while everyone's focused on Elon Musk's SpaceX IPO this week, they missed an important interview. He said that in 5 years, he is going to have data centers up in outer space and satellites. So what are we going to do with all these brick and mortars down here on Earth and in Ohio if he, in fact, creates all of them in outer space?
We become shopping malls.
Shopping malls.
Maria.
Didn't he also say that we would have like a society on Mars by now, too, though? I think he just says things. So mine is honestly a little bit more depressing than that. Yesterday we had the FBI raid a progressive voting rights group, the Ohio Organizing Collaborative. They sent over 100 FBI agents to essentially intimidate this group. Again, I have seen, it's just amazing to me that they are spending their resources on this when we've still seen 0 arrests of Epstein's client list. So, I mean, it's a real shame that the allocation of federal law enforcement dollars are going to intimidation efforts.
All right. And Andrew.
I have something that might turn out to be depressing, but Daniel Espino was once the Cleveland Guardians' top pitching prospect. He's had a lot of injuries, and they're calling him up to the major leagues today. So I look back on these videos sometimes. I'm hopeful right now, and we'll see whether or not future me agrees with current me.
From Columbus to Cleveland. Well, we have the cure for depressing days. We have an event coming up, Politics and a Pint at 7 Sun Brewing on Thursday, June 25th. It is sure to cure any inflation anxiety, any data anxiety, data center anxiety. Beer and good conversation always does it. We urge you to join us, 7th Sun, Thursday, June 25th, 6 to 8. Sign up at wosu.org/events. Hope to see you there. A reminder, you can catch us anytime on your time if you go to the WOSU News YouTube channel. Look for WOSU News when you go to YouTube. There we are. Subscribe and then see and share every episode of this program. You can also catch us on demand at our website, wosu.org, and the PBS app. For our crew and our panel, I'm Mike Thompson. Have a good week.